Excellent choice. From my conversations with them, they're going to be very excited to pursue this opportunity with you. I'll let them know our intentions immediately. I'll have to clean up some final details with them, but that's what you pay me for. Other than that, congratulations. You've earned it.
G'day everyone and welcome to the Australian Grand Prix for round 1 of season 1 of my F1 2019 career mode. We've signed up with the Racing Point team and we're about to meet our upgrades manager Carl.
No, hey, you're here. I'll catch up with you. Sorry, I'm just on my way out, but your workstation's at the back over there. It should be all set up on the network, but let the guys know if it isn't. From there, you can access all the data you need to help us direct development of the car. Get yourself settled, and then head out to practice when you're ready. I'll catch up with you later, okay?
Welcome to your new team. Racing Point are building themselves up to be a very real force to be reckoned with. They're ambitious and resourceful, and they'll expect you to be the same.
So here we are in the Racing Point garage. We've got Sergio Perez as our teammate and Lucas Weber has signed up with McLaren and the other guy, Devin Butler, has signed up with Haas. So here's our contract. It's actually fairly decent. It's a lot better than the last game where you just started off with nothing in your contract. We've got some good perks and we only have to get P12. And here's the R&D. We are not particularly fast, but this is still the 2018 performance, so it could change. We could get faster or slower depending on how Cody's think the Racing Point team can go. But yeah, it definitely isn't really accurate to 2019 at this point, but that'll change in the coming weeks. So I'm about to show you the specific R&D for each area of the car. We have a good engine with Mercedes, obviously. Aero was absolutely dreadful. We're third worst behind some of the backmarker teams, and the chassis is pretty decent though, so that's good. Let's get into practice.
Welcome to Melbourne and the inaugural event of the F1 2019 Championship season. The session is starting shortly and there's a real sense of anticipation in the air. A feeling that anything can happen this year, and if it does, well, this weekend could be the opening chapter to one of the most exciting F1 seasons ever. Joining me in the commentary box is, of course, Anthony Davidson. And it's great to have you back again. What can you tell us about this year's roster? There are some new faces this year, aren't there?
Absolutely, Crofty. There's been a number of interesting signings over the last few months. Where would you like to start?
Let's talk about the scientist.
Right, well, this is definitely someone to keep an eye on. Well, they've been signed up likely in no small part due to the way they carried themselves in the Formula 2 Championship. They have a great track record of putting the team first. At one of the races, they even gave up their own position when their car had a technical issue, so that their teammate, Lucas Weber, who also debuts here today, could get ahead. That kind of team spirit could take them a long way this season.
Those two aren't the only new faces from Formula 2 this season, are they?
No, this season will introduce fans to George Russell and Lando Norris, two very promising young British drivers. Plus, we'll meet Alexander Albon from Thailand, and finally, Devin Butler. Now, Devin was a bit of a controversial figure in Formula 2 last year. He racked up a lot of penalties over the course of the season, including one where he collided with his closest rival. It was a nasty clip. Now, certainly after the event, they were nothing but professional in terms of how they spoke about the incident with Devon, but it's hard to imagine them being as polite about it behind closed doors. I think this rival will be one to keep an eye on over the next few races, as both drivers take their first steps into the world of Formula 1.
This first race of the season is always quite difficult for us trackside, and for those back at the factory as well, as it's the first time the car has run since winter testing. The more consistent mileage you can get in these sessions, the happier we'll be.
So I'm not going to show too much of practice in general, but I will for this since it's the first session of the season.
A bit like a rubber out on track, try to take it easy for a couple of laps.
Listening to that brand new engine sound in this game. And we're about to leave for our first drive of a Formula 1 car in F1 2018, and off we go. Out of pit lane, and I'm just going to take it easy for this first couple of laps. Don't want to stick it in the wall before we've even barely got started in the game, and yeah, we'll just see how this goes. Generally, I felt like in this game there's a lot of understeer, which I think is a feeling from a few people, but it could also be because the last car I drove in F1 2018 would have been a maxed out car with all the upgrades, so that could be the reason as well. Here you can see I'm just turning traction control down to medium because I had it on full for the Formula 2 cars. The traction in those are absolutely ridiculous. There's absolutely nothing. So I will aim to turn traction control off completely. As I said in the last video, I'm going to try to run less assists as the career mode goes on, but that could be a while away. We'll have to see. I just need more practice, really. But here we jump to the end of the third lap of the track acclimatization. We finally managed to go purple.
Program complete and a job well done. We got some excellent data with that run, so come on back to the garage and I can talk you through the numbers.
Anyway, that's a fairly successful first outing.
Good day today. Let's have your take on it. It's been a lot of hard work, but here you are making your debut in Formula One. You must be thrilled.
Yeah, of course I'm thrilled to be in Formula One. I mean, as you say, it's been a lot of hard work getting into Formula One from the junior categories, but it's only just starting now. The work doesn't end here.
So how are you finding things at the team? Are you settling in?
Yeah, the team have been really good with helping me learn how to drive a Formula One car with all the hybrid systems and all sorts of stuff. But yeah, I think between Sergio and myself we can have a good season, and it'll be interesting just to see how it all plays out and how our pace is throughout the season.
What are you expecting out of this season? Are you just aiming to find your feet in Formula One, or do you see something more?
Yeah, obviously the first season in Formula One is going to be pretty tough, but as long as I can match my teammate more or less and fight for points regularly, I think there's no reason we can't be aiming for maybe a top 10 or so in the championship. That's would be achievable, I think.
Great. Well, that's everything.
Then we move on to the end of, onto practice 2, and we complete the race run simulation, and that's pretty easy. You just do 5 laps.
We're low on fuel. Box in the next 2 laps, please. Understood. Stopping this lap.
You just do 5 laps and of a reasonable sort of time. And on our way into pit lane, we just about missed the pit wall. That was a little bit close for comfort. But you can see there, he actually, other than lap 2, actually did fairly consistent times. So, which is quite rare for me to be that consistent. So that was nice. So on to practice 3 then. I decided to do a lap as fast as I could at the end of the session with all the engine and fuel mix and ERS turned up, and we ended up P3 for the session, so that was nice.
The session has drawn to a close, so let's review our top 3. Leclerc, Hamilton and the scientist. Sadly, it's time to say goodbye as free practice is over. However, we'll be back shortly for more Formula One action.
So yeah, P3, and it looks like our rivals are going to be pretty fast as well. So we've got an email here from our team boss, Otmar, someone, and it basically just says we'll be around the midfield for the season, and he wants us to try to challenge the front runners by the end, which would be nice, but I don't think we would get that far in the R&D, but there's only one way to find out, and well, let's just get started in qualifying and see where we're at for the first round in Australia.
We're just about ready to kick off today's qualifying here in Melbourne. It's the Australian Grand Prix. Now then, Anthony Davidson, you're not getting any younger, but you have been involved in your fair share of qualifying sessions in an illustrious 30-year career. How do you deal with the pressure when you have that one chance to deliver a perfect lap?
It's not so much about dealing with the pressure, it's more about how you approach the risk and just how much of it are you willing to take. You're constantly balancing the car on the edge of grip from braking, cornering and traction, and over the course of a lap, it's easy to get that balance wrong, and that's why achieving the perfect lap is almost impossible. As you say, I've been doing this 30 years now, and it never gets any easier.
So we've skipped straight on to Q3 because the first 2 sessions I got through quite easily, and I just want to keep this video as short as possible because it's already quite long. But you can just see on this first lap in Q3 we just didn't really get a good lap and just missed a lot of apexes right here. There's a lot of time to gain there, and again into this right-left, just not really doing it very well. Same in the high-speed chicane, and yeah, it's just it sort of keeps getting worse and worse. So I'm actually going to go straight on and go straight into another lap here, and instead of pitting basically, and just seeing if we can improve that way. I think even though the tyres will be worse, I think the first lap was so bad that it shouldn't be too hard to improve. You can see we get that corner much better. Jeff, I am trying to qualify and you're just talking in my ear, so cheers for that. Anyway, so yeah, this lap is much better, and you can see though by the time we get here we've actually gone red, and it's only in the last couple of corners we go green again, and luckily though we do improve a little bit, and we come across the line for...
We're all ready for tomorrow's race, but before we begin, let's have a quick look at those who will be fronting the grid. Bottas, Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton. Goodbye for now then, but we're really just getting started. Make sure to join us again for Lights Out tomorrow.
Position number 6.
Well done. That was a good qualifying performance.
New drivers, new cars, it's a new Formula One season. But it's the same Albert Park that we've come to know and love for more than 2 decades now that plays host to round 1 of a 21-race championship that takes us from here in Australia across the globe and the eventual season finale at the Yas Island circuit in Abu Dhabi. We go racing today then in the state of Victoria, where the drivers have 16 corners and 3.3 miles to navigate at an average lap speed of around 120 miles an hour. The close proximity of the barriers makes accidents inevitable, and recent history shows us that a safety car is not at all out of the question. We have plenty of changes to the sport this year, with tweaks to the regulations, a fresh-looking spread of tyre compounds, and of course some changes to the roster of car manufacturers. It's goodbye to Sauber and hello once again to the classic name of Alfa Romeo in Formula One. It's also goodbye to Force India. They've been rebranded as Racing Point. Joining me to take you through all the action of the 2019 Formula One season is Anthony Davidson. And it's great to have you with us.
Thanks, Crofty. Always happy to be here, and I'm looking forward to getting underway. Last year was Mercedes' 5th Constructors' title in a row, although for the first half of the season it was absolutely neck and neck with the Ferraris. Hopefully this year we can see the chasing pack take that final step, as I'd love to see a championship contest all the way up to the final race in Abu Dhabi. Another story to keep an eye on is the performance of Red Bull, who have switched to the Honda power unit this year. What that will mean for both their performance and reliability remains to be seen.
Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks for today's race. Charles Leclerc lines up on pole position, and it's Lewis Hamilton alongside. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Vettel, Verstappen, the Scientist, and Butler, Gasly, Weber, Hülkenberg, and Daniel Ricciardo, Bottas, Perez, Romain Grosjean, and Norris, Albon, Kvyat, Kimi Raikkonen, and Antonio Giovinazzi. Russell and Robert Kubica takes the last spot on the grid. Now it's almost time to lights out, so let's go down to the track.
Okay, I know it's your home Grand Prix, but treat it like any other race. Don't take unnecessary risks.
We will not be taking any unnecessary risks in the very first race of our career. We've been elevated up into P5 thanks to a...
Right, let's get the car up to temperature on this lap. We're learning the gears, so go through them all if you can.
Okay, so we've been elevated into P5 thanks to a grid spot penalty for Valtteri Bottas, the pole sitter. So interesting that Bottas has a 10th-place penalty in the first race, presumably for engine components. I didn't see anything happen during qualifying that would give him a penalty for blocking or anything like that. So interesting, but anyway, warming up the tyres and all the usual formation lap stuff. If anyone is having trouble with starts, do the formation lap. It makes literally makes all the difference. And if you're running full traction control, you'll never get a good start. Anyway, Here we are, lining up on the grid for our first ever Formula One race. Here we go.
Keep an eye on the lights. The start sequence will begin as soon as the grid has formed. Be ready with the clutch.
I am ready, Jeff. 5 red lights are counting down at the top of the screen. 5 lights are on. And the lights are out, and away we go for the Australian Grand Prix. It's a terrible start for us, really. They just didn't put enough power down, and it just got bogged down, and we've been absolutely swamped by Butler, Gasly and Weber. There's a Renault trying to go around the outside, but we hold him off, and yeah, that was not the ideal start. We have gained on Weber. We've tried to go around the outside here, but they just backed out of that. They just didn't have the speed in the momentum.
Okay, we're through the start phase. Now let's build on it.
And build on the start we must. So we've got a bit of a run on Weber here, but we're already a long way back, so I'm not sure if we'll be able to make anything of it. A little bit of a look, but nothing really to do there, so we'll just have to get our focus back and yeah, just try and pass him at some point. And as well as Butler, I really want to beat Butler. That would be that's the ultimate goal of this first race, really, is to beat Butler, because technically the Haas car is faster. So anyway, here Butler goes defensive on Weber, and they both get held up, but we didn't really have a way of getting past, but we had a bit of momentum. So if these two fight enough, we'll be able to get involved, and who knows, maybe past both of them. And as we move later on into the fast chicane, again they're holding each other up. Butler, I think, had a lock up there, and it looks like Weber's very close. He might even have a bit of a run here into the fast chicane. He goes to the outside, switches back to the inside, dive bombs Butler, and I think Butler might even got a bit of damage from that. Might have turned in a little bit too early, and we're going to have a look down the inside, and he doesn't even fight too much. So for Butler, that's a little strange not to fight us, so I think he may have some damage, and that would be a very easy position, and it'll be a long day for Butler if he does.
Be aware we expect the grip levels to start falling away soon.
Oh dear. That's not what I wanted to hear when I'm trying to overtake a car. If my tyres are wearing out, his must be too, so I think it's just at that time of race. But we eventually do get a run, and we have a look down the inside, and he doesn't make that too hard.
This is great work so far. 6 places up on our target, 6 places above our target. Gasly ahead. The gap to the car ahead is 5.2 seconds. They're on old softs. Weber behind. The gap behind us is 1.1 seconds. They're on old softs. Okay, gap to leader, 12.9 seconds. Pit window opens in 5 laps time. 5 laps, 48 laps to go.
So, bit of a series of mistakes there, but anyway, we've let Bottas past here. He's finally caught up after his grid penalty, and he's just gonna truck along with this race. We'll be pitting soon anyway, and yeah, we don't need to be holding him up. So we move on.
Sergio is in the pits. Pit window open. Let's box this lap.
Alright, pit window open, and in somewhere in where we've cut away, Weber has passed us again, so I must have made a mistake at some point that I didn't end up putting in the video. But we've got a Ferrari going around the outside at Charles Leclerc, who hasn't had the best race so far, but we hold him off for now. I didn't really want to slow down too much to let him pass, since we are coming in this lap. But yes, we follow Weber into the pits, so it seems like we're on the same strategy for now as Weber, so that's it'll be good to see how this battle goes, because we've been very close. We get a little bit held up by Weber in the pits there, and he's gained quite a bit of time, so anyway.
Only 1 stop to go. 1 stop left in this strategy. Ninth position. Giovinazzi is ahead of you. They're on old softs. That is Sergio behind you. Our gap behind is 7.1 seconds. They're on fresh softs. The gap to the leader is 26.7 seconds. You have 18 laps till your pit window opens. 42 laps to go.
But this is Giovinazzi's first season, but Perez is only 7 seconds behind us. He started back in nowhere's land, and he's fought his way back up to just behind us. Anyway, we squeeze our way past Giovinazzi on the inside there, and well, that was a little bit close for comfort. I wasn't sure if he was going to move over.
VSC deployed. The virtual safety car has been deployed. We need to keep a positive delta here. Slow down, maintain a positive...
We get a virtual safety car just as we catch up to Weber, but there's nothing on the race director
They're
yet.
retiring from the race. Some information on Kubica.
And backwards radio message confirms that it's Kubica that's retired. And
Virtual safety car is ending. Maintain your pace until the green flag. VSC ending. Wait for green.
if that's a mechanical failure, that's not a good sign for the Mercedes engine's durability for the season. And yes, it is a mechanical failure, so yeah, not a good sign for our season, and not the start Kubica would have wanted to his return to Formula One. But
be aware, there's an incident in the next part of the track. No overtaking through the yellow flags.
and there you go, off the right hand side back there, just before the chicane.
Green flag.
Kubica was parked off the edge of the road, so there he is. Anyway, we have to just put that out of our minds. Don't worry about the engine for now. We can worry about that when we look at the R&D later on, and work on the durability of that maybe. But we've got Weber to catch up to now, and we lost a bit of time through the chicane. What's it called? The fast chicane. And right here in the penultimate corner, we almost ran into the back of him. Just thought I'd throw it in and see if it stuck, but it really didn't. Just got a pile of understeer, so we didn't really get the run I wanted onto the main straight. We're having a little look on the inside anyway, but nothing really to do there. We're just, I don't know, trying to get in the mirrors maybe. But here on this next mini straight, we've got to run again, and we're going to have a look to the inside, but Weber just blocks it off of the right way, so that I didn't really want to risk going down the inside. So he holds on for a little bit longer. We weren't intending to make a dive, but he locks up, so we do, and we get through. And now later on that same corner, we have caught up to Charles Leclerc. We have caught up to a Ferrari. What has happened to Charles in this race? Why are we faster? I do not know. But, well, we will not be faster if we do that too many times. But, yeah, I'm not sure what's happened to Leclerc. We move on later on again, and we're going down the inside, but we were both kind of weaving all over the place there, so I didn't really want to go down the inside. Again, it was just too tight of a line. We dropped some of us in the dirt on the exit there, so it's not a good run of corners for us, and we've lost a bunch of time to Leclerc, so...
Gap to car in front is 1.5 seconds.
Yeah, we've lost a second and a half now, so after being right on his bumper. So, well, gearbox. Formula One cars don't have bumpers. Yeah. Anyway. But eventually we do catch up to him again, so obviously it's a persisting issue. It wasn't just a one-off mistake or something. And we go down the outside into the first corner. We go slightly off circuit, but we do get past. And
the car ahead has come in and fitted the soft tyre.
That's just happened, so I don't really care. That's effectively for about 6th place, I think. With
yellow flag.
But that could change because Bottas is off the road there, and I don't think that's a mistake. I think that's a mechanical failure for Valtteri Bottas. So the pole stood up, penalised to 11th.
Okay, clear.
And
We're approaching the pit window. You'll be on the mediums.
And yeah, another Mercedes engine's blown up. So not the start to the season for Mercedes really, with 2 of their engines failing. But anyway, we got Gasly behind us now, and we will be boxing soon, so I'm not sure if I really want to just let him past. He'll look like he's going to find his own way past here. He's going to have a look around the outside, but the Honda engine just letting him down in the straight line a bit there. So we have another bit of a slide there on that fast chicane, and we hold on to the position for now. So we push on, but something's happened.
Green flag.
Green flag. So Gasly's engine's blown up. Just as he couldn't pass us, his Honda engine just gave up, and he's just going to park up here, and that will be the end of the day for Pierre Gasly. Definitely not the first race for the big Red Bull team that he would have wanted.
We're boxing this lap. Give us the best in lap you can.
So all the big teams having problems. Bottas out, Gasly out, Leclerc with some kind of issues, making him quite slow. So, not the first race for the big teams. Anyway,
Hamilton's out in front.
Hamilton's in the lead, so there is some good news for Mercedes. Their car is obviously fast, just not maybe not reliable. We throw it off the road there, a bit of sand, a bit of grass, but no other cars around really. That didn't really cost us anything.
Okay, this set of tyres is pretty much spent, I think. You should be able to bring a bit more out, but it won't be long before they fall away from you entirely.
Didn't really cost us anything, so yeah, that might explain why we threw it off the road, because the tyres are absolutely gone at this point, and lucky that is our scheduled lap to come into pits, and we come out behind Sergio Perez, so maybe going off the road was actually costly. But this is very important. He is on soft tyres. This is his third set of soft tyres in this race, and he still has to make another pit stop because he hasn't used a second compound yet. So yeah, that's interesting strategy from Perez. It's given him some track position over us. That might be why he's been so fast, doing shorter stints on softer tyres. But yeah, it's just a weird strategy. 3 stops just seems like too many, and I think his tyres are going off already. The soft tyres do not last that long in this game, and we go down the inside, and we get past quite easily. So, bit of a strange strategy there for Perez, and the same thing can be said for Weber, who is also on this weird 3-stop strategy.
Weber is ahead of you. Gap to car in front is 1.2 seconds. They're on old softs. The time last lap was a 1 minute 32.2.
Interesting radio message there from Jeff, but
Some information on Hulkenberg. They have an issue with their car. They're going to be slow.
Hulkenberg with an issue. I don't even think I've seen him in this race, so I'm not too concerned with that. But we've caught up to Weber here, and we've got a good exit. Where is he going to go? Where are we going to go? He's gone to the inside. We're going to do the same move as we did on Leclerc, and we go off the road and we throw it away. And we only actually just stay ahead of Perez. I thought Perez was going slow, but maybe he just had a couple of mistakes, because he's kept up with us as we battled with Weber. Anyway, we go for a move. There we go, into that same corner again where we locked up a few laps ago, but no move to be made that time. We
Increase ERS deployment. It's time to use some of this charge.
had to back out of it, but that is the message I wanted to hear. I've been saving ERS until we heard that message, and meaning we have plenty, and we can now push, and this should make passing him a lot easier. So we just have to set up the move through these last 2 corners, and we should be able to just blaze past on the straights without too many issues. We have the better engine as well, Mercedes versus Renault, and
Sergio is in the pits.
Sergio is making his final stop onto mediums, and we just fly past Weber quite easily there. So while we're battling with Weber, Sergio is making his pit stop onto mediums, and maybe getting an undercut on Weber. Maybe we can get a 4-5 finish. It would
The
be.
gap to the car ahead is 21.8 seconds.
Yeah, Verstappen is a long way ahead. Just as Kvyat comes out of pits, he holds us up. He's a lap down now to us, or now he is, and that has cost us some time, but we've already got the track position, so it doesn't really matter. But that was quite scary, the way it wasn't really his fault. There's not really anywhere to go on that first corner to let us pass. It's only one line, but there we go, we pass someone else there. I totally missed who that
We're
is.
leading our teammate by 21.9 seconds.
And as you can just see the time that Perez has lost doing that extra stop was 21 seconds or thereabouts. So he'll get some of that back in the fresh mediums, but yeah, I really think that was a mistake for Perez to.
Fourth position. You're in fourth position. Verstappen ahead. Gap to car in front is 21.2 seconds. They're on fresh mediums. Leclerc is behind you. The gap behind us is 15.9 seconds. They're on fresh mediums. The gap to the leader is 27.4 seconds. Pit strategy complete. See these tyres through to the end now. There are 10 laps to go.
I think it was a mistake for Perez to make that extra stop. Meanwhile, Leclerc is 15 seconds behind us-ish, and we have 10 laps to go. So if he's on an absolute charge, there is a chance he can catch us. But I think we've got just enough margin to have him covered. So we'll have to see how that plays out, if he still has some kind of issue or not. But this could be a very interesting end to the race.
Vettel's leading the race. They're speeding up again, so I expect they've fixed whatever the problem was.
So a double radio there. So Vettel's leading the race, and the second one I assume is referring to Hulkenberg, who Jeff said they had an issue before. Whatever.
This is your final lap of the race. You're dropping a second a lap to the car behind, 1 second.
Hopefully Hulkenberg can make up for the time we lost with the issue, but we've jumped to the final lap, and you heard Leclerc is only gaining by a second a lap, so not enough to catch up to us, and more or less we can just cruise home now. And
Okay, gap ahead is 26.6 seconds.
we can just cruise home and enjoy this fourth place finish at our home race. The fans would be going absolutely nuts right now for their new rookie driver. So we come through the fast chicane for the final time. This corner has been giving me trouble all weekend. There's a lot of spinning here in practice. So anyway, we've started the last sector for the final time. Through these corners we've made a number of passes there, and through the blinding sun, I think I've got the gamma settings set up a bit high there, so I'll be reducing that in the future. Throw the car off the road for one final time in this race, weave across the line, and that is P4 at our home race.
That's the end of the race. We'll see you in Parc Fermé.
And Jeff is, just being Jeff.
Here's our winner, pulling their Ferrari into Parc Fermé. What a fantastic race it was. What do you think it was, Ant, that gave them the edge over the competition today?
Well, this was a real team victory. They put together a solid strategy today that appeared well suited to the conditions out on track. The driver did everything that was expected of them in the moment to really execute the team's plan to perfection. A shining example of how F1 really is a team sport.
Here come our winners now. A thrilling race and a tremendous effort by Ferrari. Their history is well known, so it's no surprise to fans the world over to see them come out on top once again. And now let's take a look at the drivers' standings. Sebastian Vettel now leads the Drivers' Championship. Some amazing talent out on the track today. But Anthony, who would you pick as your driver of the day?
Well, you can't fault anything that Sergio Perez did out on the track today. He drove flawlessly, making him an easy pick.
Let's move on to the constructors. Ferrari take the lead at the top of the table. Well, Ant, an end to another fantastic weekend of racing. Thanks to everyone who joined us, and we'll see you for the next one.
So after all that, Vettel takes the win, and Perez got driver of the day. He was flying through the field after a bad start and a bad qualifying. But Hulkenberg scored some points after he had some issues. Weber dropped down after our battles.
Great work out there today. Let's have your thoughts. You really looked in control of your car out there. Your team must be thrilled.
Yeah, the car had a lot of straight line speed, so overtaking and defending was quite easy. I think that really helped us.
You left a lot of paint on the walls today. Were you struggling for grip, or did you just misjudge some corners? Great. Well, that's everything.
So we are leading Sergio Perez in our rivalry. We scored an extra point in qualifying, but in the race we scored 3 each. He got the faster lap, and I got the better race position. Probably his extra pit stop helped him with the faster lap there, but we have a bunch of resource points here. We're going to end up with about 1,500, and we will see where to spend those in a moment. There's the reputation with the teams. Ferrari are hating us for some reason, probably because we were fighting with Leclerc so much, I don't know. But Williams like us, so if anything goes wrong, we can always go to them. But anyway.
Great work. That's exactly the kind of result I'm looking for. Keep it up. Looks like one of your rivals has also been invited to a historical event. This could be a good opportunity to play up your rivalry for the press and expand your reputation.
So I didn't notice there that only the option on the left said Perez was going to it, so I didn't choose the one on the right. When I do manage to choose the right one, I will show it in the episode. And you can see I've already bought one of the efficiency upgrades. I'm going to get a quality control upgrade for the aero department, because our aero is nowhere near where it should be. And we will upgrade the front downforce, because these 2019 cars, they just understeer so much. So yeah, the front downforce will be very important, I think. And I'm just looking at the wear on the components. It seems similar to 2018, where the at least on the Mercedes engine, which I got to know quite well in 2018, the ICE and the control electronics wear out quite quickly, and I think turbo as well. But I think the ICE is probably the main issue, other than the gearbox, which I think has always been an issue as well. That I'll need to upgrade the Jubilee on that. So yeah, that'll be something to focus on in the near future. But for now, we will just go to the highlights of this race. Hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you next time.
Practice sessions are vital for the continuing development of the car. But if you need to, you can choose to simulate the session